Hi, friends. This is Donna Reed with Up with People 76A, and I'm coming to you today from the Cactus Lounge, which happens to be in my son's room in Colorado today. And we have two guests. I'm super excited. Sisters, Karin Nyquist and Eva Persson, who both traveled in Up with People. And Karin, what year did you travel?
I traveled in 84 Class D.
84D. And Eva, what about you?
90A.
98. Okay. So a few years apart. So Eva, why don't you tell me, did you guys see shows as kids? When did you first see and learn about Up with People?
Yeah, so the first time we heard about Up with People was when we'd been in the mountain skiing and we were driving back home, and we were in the car, and there was this guy who we were taking home because he couldn't go in whoever else's car, and he started talking about Up with People, and I can't remember why he did or if he traveled. I don't know, Karin, if you can fill me
Karin,
in.
do you know? Do you remember?
No, what I remember is he was like a hitchhiker that my parents picked up because he was going from the high mountains down to our the city where we lived, and he needed to get there. And he talked so much about this show that he has seen in Sundsvall only a few months ago. And he said, "Oh, I saw this international show. It was so wonderful." And that was like this cast performing. They were called Up with People, and of course, I looked that up. And that's how it all started. Neither my sister and I saw this show. I read about Up with People and heard about it. And then I traveled about 1,000 kilometers down to Gothenburg to see a show when they were performing there in, 1983 in Gothenburg. So that was my first kind of trip by myself to Gothenburg to see a show, and I interviewed after the show.
Wow. So it's interesting. I didn't mention that I know you, Karin, because we were both on the Board of Governors together, and I think we roomed together at a meeting north of Washington in Canada or something. And then I met Eva in 2015 for Midsummer, when you had a whole bunch of people there that you were hosting. And this is a piece of you that I didn't know. So you were all living up north in Sundsvall, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that. See, the things you don't know. And so you came down to Gothenburg, you interviewed, and then Eva, I assume that later, then that's how your sister had traveled. So at that point you learned more about it.
Yeah. So then Karin traveled right after she saw the show, basically. And I mean, our parents didn't know anything about it. And I mean, like all parents didn't know anything. You couldn't Google or anything. So, I mean, they thought it was a hippie group and drugs and all of these things, but then realized this is a serious organization,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Karin traveled, and I, of course, became almost obsessed and like a complete Up with People groupie. So we hosted the PR teams, we hosted students. So our house was always full when they came to visit. So that was obviously great. So it was just cool. Natural for me to follow that path and to travel, of course.
Yeah. So did both of you stage in Tucson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Both in Tucson. And Karin, what were the costumes like when you traveled?
Oh, 84 was a little bit of a special year since we were supposed to perform at the Olympics in Los Angeles. So our costume was specially made for the Olympics, and with the colors and everything matched. But as you might know, that our biggest sponsor that year, ABC Television, they pulled out. So we didn't perform at the Olympics, but we still kept the costumes. But it was a little bit of a hassle because we were actually asked to come in a month earlier to Tucson to just, do the special show for the Olympics. But so all of us kind of booked our tickets a month earlier, but then we had to cancel those tickets. And then, we just did the regular show. But the problem was that meant that we had a whole month that was not scheduled.
Wow.
So I do not know how they managed to, at that time we were 5 casts or 4 summer casts. They had to reschedule all the 4 casts and put us somewhere. So we started out from Tucson. Our first show was in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. How far is that from Tucson? We traveled around the US like crazy. And they just, tried to find places where we could perform for 1 month because we were supposed to be at the Olympics. So that was a crazy first month. Yeah.
Interesting piece of history. And Eva, what were the costumes like when you traveled?
Yeah, so we had like proper costumes. We had either beige skirts or pants, or it could be like red shorts, really wide shorts. And then we had these t-shirts with a print in different colors.
Okay.
That's what did they say? Hello in all different languages, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the t-shirty things. So I'm going to ask Eva this question. So do you have anything specific that you would say that you learned while you were traveling that maybe you had no idea about, that to this day you can remember? Is there any like one thing that you just think, oh yeah, I didn't know that and I learned that?
About Up With People? Or?
Yeah, while you were traveling. Yeah. About anything.
About anything. Well, what I really learned that has been really made a big impact, I think, was to stand in front of a lot of people talking. I mean, that is something that we don't do in Sweden in school. I mean, in the US, you have a lot of classes that you can take, you have speech and you can stand in front of a class and do a presentation. We're not used to that. That's something every Swede is dreading. So that's something that I learned, and I think that is super important to be able to do. And that was a big deal to dare.
That's interesting, because one of the questions that I have later is more like, is there something that you brought forward in your life, and that was something you learned on the road that today you still remember and probably use and have used, because once you've learned to speak in front of some people, you can usually continue to do it. Karin, what about you? Do you have a favorite funny experience that happened while you were traveling?
Well, I think it was quite interesting to see that we started out in the States. We traveled around. First month was a little bit crazy because they had to find places for us to perform, which they had to do in very short notice. But then our plan was to go to Europe very, very shortly after our staging. But it was interesting to see how the preparation for the whole cast to go to Europe, how many sessions we had to prepare the cast to go to Europe. I mean, that was like kind of my home field, so it was not a big deal, but it was interesting how much time we spent on preparing to go to Europe. Like that was a big thing,
That's a big thing for.
It's an international group, right? So it shouldn't be more, difficult to go to Europe to go to Asia or to go to US. So I found that quite interesting. I mean, having sessions about, do they have electricity? Where do I buy stamps? Where is the post office located? I mean, no, it was really funny. A lot of funny details about that.
Now, because you guys know I'm a realtor, when I go and I travel, and I spoke with someone the other day about the size of houses in Italy, and we were comparing prices. And when I told her that I lived in a small place in Tucson, and then I told her what it was in square feet, and we converted it to meters, she was like, that's not small, So I can only imagine the things that you don't know. But it's funny that for you, having come from Europe, you were like, what's the big deal, right? Yeah. So I think I know the answer to both of this. One of the questions I ask is if you met your spouse on the road. I know you're both long-term, relationships, but I don't think either of you were married to cast members, correct?
No.
But I think Eva actually married somebody thanks to Up With People, right?
Really?
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I mean, if I hadn't traveled with Up With People, I wouldn't have met my husband.
Really?
Sure.
Where did you meet him?
Yeah, so I was living in Stockholm at the time, and one of my really best friends, she traveled in, I can't even remember. Her name's Åsa. She traveled probably around 87 or something, 86 or 87.
Mm-hmm.
And we were really good friends, and we were gonna go see her uncle. So we went to see her uncle, and her cousin was going to be there also. And she had talked about this cousin who was so good looking, but he was a sailor, always away at sea, and all of that. And then, I met him, and we moved in quite shortly after that, I can say.
That's amazing. That's a great story.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So, again, I kind of know the answer to this for Karin. One of my things is, have you kept in touch with cast members? And I happen to know that 84 group, you guys are super close.
Yeah, thanks to Sheila Ditloff. I mean, she is our cast queen that actually kept us so close together. We have almost every reunion. We have the record high attendance and everything. But honestly, I think we just happen to be a bunch of people that really like to stay in touch. Yeah. But of course, with the technology and social media and everything, that helped a lot. I think that Facebook, for instance, is like made for Up With People alumni. That's almost the only reason why I use social media like Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. It's to connect with my Up With People friends.
Yeah.
And that
Eva, what about you? Is your cast close, Eva?
We are close. We're a big cast. So we are 158 students and then 30 staff. So we are a big group of people. Yeah. So, and we had a lot of spin-offs during my year, but we do keep in touch a lot. We've had Zoom calls during the pandemic, and but no, we're not like my sister's cast. Absolutely not. When we with attendance in Tucson for reunions, and but we are a close cast, and I would say that I talk to cast members weekly, every week.
Oh, that's neat. That's neat. So I think I was thinking about this, Karin, when I was on the Board of Governors, there were so many people from 1984, and not just your cast, like 84C, but, there was just a lot of you. It's really when I got to know so many, from the 84 group. And again, I know, Karin, what you do for a living. Do you think that, were you already like training to be an architect and work in your field before Up With People, or did all of that transpire kind of partially because of your dad and what he did? What kind of led you to your current life?
No, actually, I thought I wanted to go as far as possible from what my parents were doing. So I actually, when I traveled, I decided I want to be a civil engineer. So I actually applied for Technical University to study theoretical physics, which is what I did for 2 years after Up With People. But, coming from, traveling, everything that I learned from Up With People and everything, and all the creativity that was there, I think that led me to actually change my path after 2 years and actually choosing to study architecture instead, which is what my dad did also, and going into the environmental field and all that.
Right. And Eva, what about you?
Yeah, so I studied engineering in high school, or sort of college, not civil engineering, but sort of on the lower level. And then I went to Up With People. And then when I came back from that, I went into fashion designing and sewing. So that became my field for many years.
Wow. And I've seen that as I watch your videos that you've been doing, living where you live now. And honestly, I've played one of your videos, Eva, when you were adding on to your house and you were using flax, I think, as insulation around the window, because you guys are both so good at doing and using natural products. And again, I go back to real estate and I'm like, I didn't know that you could do that, or that you would do that. And so I've been sort of amazed, but I also have seen your designs and some of your clothes that you've made and how you've adjusted things. And I think that's pretty awesome. Did you help with costumes when you traveled at all?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I started sewing when I was 11, started sewing my clothes early. So because I'm so tall, nothing fit me. So I kind of had to do that. So I did costumes, of course.
Well, I'm I don't know if I'm as tall as you guys, but I'm kind of close. That little Swedish heritage that I have has given me some height, right? So that's true. So we've talked a little bit about Zoom and everything like that. Is there anything that either of you would want to say about the last couple of years and COVID and Corona and global stuff without, I'm not doing any politics here and I'm not going to get into right, left, wrong, right. Is there anything that you feel like Up With People just helped you through in the last couple of years? Karin, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I think the network that we have with Up With People and all the alumni actually has helped us a lot through this very, very difficult time, the last 2 years. As many of you might know, but my sister and I, we lost our father to COVID a year ago, and all the help that and all the friendship that we have felt from all the relationship that we have through Up With People has really helped us through these very difficult times a lot. So I think that's very, very special. But I would also like to mention that for me, aside from all the wonderful relationship that we have with our cast members and all the alumni that we know, I would also like to point out that I still keep in touch with some of our host families after so many years. And I think that also is something that really brought us closer together. I mean, going through all these difficulties around the globe, it's wonderful to have both castmates, but also host families that support you through this difficult time.
Do you know that in the interview with Mona, I think she used the phrase, when people become the places, right? Mm-hmm. When you don't just go, oh, it's a city. Oh, I get emotional over this. You go, oh, I know somebody there. Oh, I was there. Oh, my family is there. And again, I think you may know that after Midsummer in 2015, we met up with Caleb's host family from 2013, when we got back to Göteborg, after we left Marstrand. And to me, you're right. That host family experience and that connection, it has been phenomenal. Yeah. What about you, Eva? Anything about that and getting through the last couple of years?
Yeah, I can only agree. I mean, it's fantastic to have a support system of friends that are almost like family from all over the world, and hearing them relate to our difficulties, and we've supported each other both as friends, but also financially throughout the years, and also during these last few years with people who have really struggled within our cast, and I think it's really beautiful how we can, I mean, it's so long ago since we travel, but still, we live complete different lives, and we haven't spoken to each other or seen each other since then. But I mean, if we say, hey, I need help, well, what do you need? We do help each other, and I think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
And Karin, you mentioned your dad, and we all have parents, but you guys' dad was like a dad to a lot of us. And the picture that I have of us when we were dancing down around the pole, oh, my kids tell me I cry over everything I do. I'm sure, but that picture with the wreath that we made and with your dad is just a super special memory for me. Yeah. So a great reminder. All right. So since I'm trying to keep to some kind of an agenda here, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, and this is thanks to Sheila, who's been helping me like come up with ideas and editing. She says, I think you should ask the same questions at the end of each interview. So I'm gonna start with Eva. Eva, is there a favorite food that you ate for the first time on the road that you really like?
Favorite food? No, rather the opposite.
Okay, so a really yucky food that you never want to eat again.
I can't drink Coca-Cola.
Oh.
When we traveled in Panama, we were sponsored by Coca-Cola, and I detest soda. I can't drink it. I'm sorry, but yeah, no.
Funny.
And after the year of Up with People, I became vegetarian.
Okay.
Because I felt all we ate was lasagna, meat sauce, and meatballs the whole year, and so
that's true. Okay.
Favorite? Probably Reese's peanut butter cups.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, and Karin, do you have a favorite host family? Is there like one specific town or city that?
Oh my gosh, I got adopted by my Portuguese host family in Lisbon. Oh my gosh, we are so close. I've been to my host sister's weddings.
I remember that. Yeah.
Oh, this is such a wonderful experience to me, and they are so dear to my heart.
That's
really
wonderful. All right, so I'm going to ask each of you if you had to choose one city in the world that you either traveled to or that you want to go back to. Karin, what city would that be for you?
I still haven't been in Australia, so I need to go there one day soon. Yes.
You want to get to Australia. And Eva, what about you?
Oh, I really would like to go to Alaska. And I really want to go skiing in Utah.
You know what? On the plane, I met someone and she said Utah has like the best skiing in the United States. I was just coming here to Colorado. Somebody told me that. I thought, I'm right by the Rocky Mountains, but they're telling me it's better over on the other side or something. I don't know. That's fascinating. So, well, thank you, ladies. I'm going to stop the recording. Zoom just told me that I only have a few minutes left. I have the free version, and for those of you that are watching, I have no idea why my camera is coming out funky and I look like I'm glowing in the dark, but I'm grateful that these two ladies look good. So thank you too for joining. I really appreciate it, and I'll post it. I'll let you know, and then we'll share it, and hopefully people will keep sharing their stories. Okay.
Thank you,
guys.
Great.
I'm going to end the recording.